This is Face to Face on Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest today is the most wanted MP, not in negative terms. Well, it depends on who we're talking about. But again, maybe the most popular MP. Again, I have not done a test to prove that. But of course, they may be the most talked about member of parliament, representing the people of North Tongu, who has been doing a number of things. His latest thing is to campaign against the sale of hotels belonging to the Social Security and National Insurance Trust. We're going to speak to him about the issues behind the issues and why he's opposed to this. Is it because it's been sold to a member of the NPP, or is a principle that he stands by? And then we'll talk about this issue about sirens and bells that should be fitted on the vehicles of members of parliament. Stay with us here on Face to Face. So on Face to Face today, my guest is a member of parliament for the North Tongu constituency in the Volta region. He was previously Deputy Minister for Information before and after that going to become Minister Deputy for Education. And we've joined him today to have a conversation with him on what his agenda is. He's been doing a number of things in his constituency, but there are national issues that he's been dealing with lately, even leading a demonstration recently. That's what we're going to talk about. Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa, you're welcome to Face to Face.
Umaru, good to see you.
How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
I forgot to add that you are my neighbor constituent.
Yes.
I'm thinking of transferring my votes to your constituency.
Please do. Please do.
So
please do.
Miss Okulu is watching you. She will not be happy with you at all.
Oh, she knows that the votes really go into one basket.
Okay. So
we have a common agenda.
Yeah.
We will try to convince you to vote for a presidential candidate. So in that case, she will not be worried.
I see. Okay, you come and see me in the village. My dad will be there. We'll discuss and then we'll see whether I should vote for you or not. But let's talk about the issue that's trending today, which is plan to put sirens on your vehicle so that if you went to Japan and you were called back to parliament and you need to urgently come and do business, you should be able to use the siren so that when you get to Pong, where usually there's some little traffic, you can jump, and when you are between Afienya and the Temaran about, it wouldn't be a problem. Talk to us about this plan. Is it a plan that has been agreed by MPs? What's the state of that issue?
So, Umaru, in all sincerity, I have not seen that LI. As I speak to you now, I cannot confirm if indeed there is any such LI in Parliament. And we have, as a Parliament, discussed time without number, even recently, about the constitutional arrangement on LIs. So they are sent in by a sponsoring ministry. It is referred to the subsidiary legislation committee, and then it is laid. There is no room for an initial parliamentary discussion or debate before it is laid. And we all know that when it is laid, it takes 21 days. It is a moving train. You can only stop it with 2/3. Now, after that 21 days, once it is not stopped in its tracks by a 2/3 vote, it becomes law.
Oh, so the 2/3 vote must come before it reaches
the 21 days. So at this point, it's only members of the subsidiary legislation committee who can really tell us if any such thing has come to their committee. The waters have been further muddied by the Speaker of Parliament's statements at another forum where he was asked. And the Speaker says that he's not aware that such an LI has come before the House. Because ordinarily, and to follow due process, these LIs, when they are brought by the ministers, must go to the Speaker's office. So the clerks will send it to the Speaker's office. It's the Speaker who then refers it to the committee. So if the Speaker hasn't sent it, how was this referred to the committee? Has it been referred to the committee? Has the committee worked on this? And has it been laid? Now, we who are not on the subsidiary legislation committee would not have answers whether it has come to the committee, and we wouldn't know whether it has been laid because we haven't been given copies.
Would it have gone to the transport committee before going to the subsidiary, or they work together? How do these things work?
So ideally, what the best practice has been is that these matters should be discussed at the parent committee. And I can, for example, give you a recent scenario when the Foreign Affairs Ministry decided to raise passport fees. They brought the policy proposal to our committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee. We then said that they have to bring justification. It was a very scanty information. They were taking advantage of the work we were conducting on the 2024 estimates, the budget proposals. So it was not properly before our committee. So we said, okay, you have told us about your policy proposals on the fees, that you want to increase it. Come back to us later with justification. And I have been reading the minutes of the meeting, so people know about the facts. So the minister and her deputy said they will come back to us. Whilst we were waiting, the Foreign Affairs Committee was waiting for the Foreign Ministry to come back to us and present justification for these passport fee increases. They went to subsidiary legislation, and subsidiary legislation too took it for granted that they must have got a green light from us. Didn't check with us and laid it. 21 days count, it becomes the new fees regime, and that is what has been imposed. So I have publicly, and even on the floor of the House, accused the Foreign Ministry of bad faith, because the best practice is that let your parent committee be fully apprised, give you its blessings before it is then presented to the Speaker, who refers it to the subsidiary legislation for them to do their work, because they are responsible for all subsidiary legislations that come to the House. So in this case, again, I'm not on the Transport Committee. I don't know if the policy was presented, because that is the best practice. You present the policy to your parents' committee.
That's after Speaker makes a reference to it.
Yes.
But does the Speaker typically announce in the House that there's an airline like this, I refer it to this committee? Is that the procedure, or the referral can be done outside the public sitting?
No, it has to be done on the floor of the House.
So he will announce there's an ally, I'm sending it to the committee,
exactly.
They will work on it and return it.
And return.
But right now, you're not sure that that has happened.
The Speaker is telling us, to be honest with you, when I heard this in the media, I saw it on social media. I think it was Mr. Franklin Kujo who posted it. And I was at sea. I was taken aback. I was like, where is this coming from? Because I thought that I'm a diligent member of the House.
And you would have seen.
Did I miss the ball? I didn't see this, you know. And so I started asking around. I asked my leader, the Honorable Atufosen will confirm to you that I promptly called him that, have you seen this post from the Imani boss? I don't know. And he also told me that, and I hope he doesn't mind me disclosing our conversation. He said that, I'm also surprised.
I've seen him issue a statement.
Because typically, these matters will be discussed at leadership. The leadership of the subsidiary legislation will also, you know, engage our leadership, seek their blessings. But the Honorable Atufosi says, look, I am at sea as you are. I have no clue. I have no idea about this. So it's a whole bizarre.
But it's interesting. I interviewed a member of the Transport Committee on the MPP side, and he didn't say to me that there was no LI before the House. He even said to me that the part about MPs being given sirens was not in the original LI, and that it is a subsidiary committee that inserted that particular clause.
Really?
That's what he said to me on Eyewitness News. Even though some other MPs have said to me that that's not possible. A committee cannot insert anything to an LI. It's only what the ministry brings. You can't do any amendment whatsoever. Yeah. So it's still a bit confusing.
Yeah, because the practice is that if the committee recommends amendments, it has to be sent back. So the ministry will have to accept those amendments and represent, you know, another ally. But the whole matter is bizarre. I am calling for investigations. I have put out a personal statement saying that I support the position of my leader. I support the statement he has put out absolutely and unequivocally. I think that the Speaker should cause an immediate investigation into this matter. Look, to be very honest with you, this ally is not a matter that the Transport Ministry should be working on at this point. I have raised major issues. I have been chasing this Transport Minister to respond to the Buankra scandal. As we speak, Ghana is on the verge of being hit with a $3.6 billion, and I didn't make a mistake, not million, $3.6 billion judgment debt because of his illegal conduct in the Boankra matter. He has changed what Parliament passed. The parliamentary resolution on the concessionaire agreement has been single-handedly amended by this minister. He's going to select his own companies, just more, without recourse to the procurement process. And I broke this scandal. I have written severally. I have filed questions. The ministry is stonewalling, refusing to speak to these matters. I thought that if the Minister for Transport will be coming to Parliament with any business, it should be on this Boankra matter. Not this LI. It's so needless. It's not a priority.
Let's talk about the principle of it. The proponents or the supporters, two of your colleagues in Parliament that I spoke to yesterday, one said it may be chaotic if it is done in the right way, he endorses it. The other one says no, it is good for you. He gave me an example where a colleague of yours was rushing to House of Parliament and was involved in an accident. I think he was referring to the Nanton Member of Parliament. You remember that? And he said to me that he, even on his way yesterday from his constituency, he stayed in traffic for 2 hours on the road project being done after Pokwase. So he thought that because of the urgency and importance of the work you guys do in Parliament, you should be given the green light to jump the red light and not observe speed limit. What's your personal view on this matter?
Look, my personal view is that this LI is needless. I am aware that there is an existing arrangement where in cases of emergency, you can call the police command and they will bring a dispatch.
A motor rider.
A motor rider to guide you through traffic. In cases of emergency, either where there is an urgent vote or there is some medical emergency, we know what to do. We have been taught how to make contacts in those limited cases where there is really, you can, when you call the police hierarchy and you show them proof that there is really an emergency, they can help you out of traffic or any difficult situation you find yourself wherever you may be commuting from. So really, I don't see how this LI, in the current scheme of things, it's so pressing, it's so important. If there are matters that this house should be working on, that ministry should be concerned about the looming $3.6 billion judgment debt. How is this a priority? And look, let's be careful. I have seen other countries roll back. For example, Nigeria. It became a free-for-all. And I am aware that recent governments have sought to clamp down on that chaos. If you go to Kenya, they themselves on their own are rolling back because it's created a situation where the masses feel that the political class are removed, they consider themselves superior, and then it has also opened the floodgates where their relatives, sometimes you don't know who is really in the car, whether it's a spouse, a child, a friend, and it's become such a messed up situation. And it's one of the things that Kenyans have been complaining about. Now they have rolled back. Nobody is really using those sirens after the Gen Z, insurrection that happened. So why are we appearing to want to run into things that other countries are moving away from? Is it is it a deliberate effort to be provocative?
That it will enhance productivity.
Oh, please.
Because yesterday, your house could not sit because there was no quorum. And your colleague said that it possibly because some of them were stuck in traffic. He was stuck in traffic.
Please, let's get serious.
That's what he said.
Let us not, take the intelligence of the citizenry for granted. We all watch the news. We have said on the floor, only last week, that we have seen colleagues abandon parliamentary duties and follow their flag bearer around. Only last week, when the business statement was read, we raised that issue and we called on the Speaker to speak directly to MPs who are neglecting their constitutional mandate and following flag bearers campaigning all over the place. And we are not able to raise a quorum. How will sirens solve that problem? those who are following the flag bearer around, is it because they don't have sirens? That's not the issue. People just want to do other matters, other businesses. They have other priorities apart from the work in the chamber. And that is the bane. It has nothing to do with, I don't have a siren affixed to my car, I don't have a speed limit pass, I should be allowed to go beyond speed limits and endanger lives. So look,
is it allowable for some persons?
This is just
so currently, per the law, the president, the vice president, the speaker, the chief justice. This LI wants ministers. Okay, ministers already. Some of them do use that, but the LI wants ministers, members of parliament, justices of the Supreme Court. Do you think it should be opened up? Already, fire service, police service, and those ones will do it. But justice of the Supreme Court, at least, should they be granted this pass? Ministers, should they be granted this pass? If MPs should not?
I take the view that you don't fix what is not broken. We have a very restricted regime. President, Vice, Speaker, Chief Justice, and a few others. It has worked for us for decades. What are we trying to solve? What really is it? You see, before laws are passed, we want to ask ourselves, what mischief are we curing? I don't see any mischief we are curing. I don't see any problem we want to solve. What is broken that we are fixing? We just want to open the floodgates, bring ourselves in, bring others. I've heard media discussions, because I haven't seen the LI. I don't know if it's really before Parliament. I haven't seen it. I haven't been given a copy. But I've heard that they've added even some other operatives of national security.
They said government security vehicles.
Yes, yeah. And cyber security, and all of that. My fear is that we are just going to walk into what was considered offensive and obscene in other countries, which led to politicians being targeted needlessly. Look, our colleagues should be conscious of the growing opprobrium. Already, this democracy does not appear to be producing the dividends, yielding the dividends. And some of our own conduct, the conduct of some of our colleagues, has not inspired confidence in our democracy. And our citizens think that increasingly we are cutting ourselves out. Transport Ministry, shouldn't they rather be looking at how they can ease congestion generally for everybody? Sometimes it is just a few potholes. It is just, indiscipline on the road, allowing, traders, shoppers
in the middle of roads.
There's so many things that can be done by this
ministry. So
deal
with those things.
Deal with those things.
The anger, though, is right against you MPs in Parliament.
Yeah. So you see, let's be careful. Let's be careful that we don't needlessly provoke the citizens, provoke the masses. And that's what, you see, when some of us consistently draw attention to these threats, perhaps if the Kenyans had people like us and listened to them, they would not have become the target for the masses.
If it
we are, some of us rather, are often accused by colleagues of being populist, of always wanting to side by the masses. But you see, public goodwill, the buy-in of the people who elected us, who sent us to that house, we can't sacrifice it.
If it comes to it, would you vote against this?
We cannot build a Chinese wall. I am totally opposed to it. I would be one of the 2/3. I would really want to rally 2/3 of my colleagues to stop this. But the transport minister can do us a lot of good by just coming to withdraw. Because that is another avenue.
Okay.
He should just come and withdraw this from the house. Okay. And you see, let us also take advantage of this scenario to push for constitutional reforms which will allow for these allies to be subjected to thorough debate. Pre-debate, let us all be consulted, let us all be engaged, and be sure what is going to be laid. This matter of laying in secrecy is just a few people who know about it, then it's laid 21 days, it matures, it becomes law, and then we are all presented with a fait accompli, and we become collateral damage. It is not helpful.
This is Face to Face. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest is Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP for North Tongu. We're just talking there about the issue of the LI, which is, we are told, would be giving freedom to MPs to drive without observing speed limits and also using sirens. He's opposed to that. When we come back, there's another thing he's been doing, campaigning against the sale of SSNIT hotels, and I forgot to mention the Cathedral. I want to ask him what the status of his campaign against the Cathedral is. Please stay with us. Yeah, welcome back. This is Face to Face. My guest is the Honourable Member of Parliament for North Tongu, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. We've talked about the LI before the House of Parliament from the Transport Ministry. Now, let's talk about the SSNIT hotels. Your fight against the sale of the hotels, is it based on the fact that it is being sold to a Member of Parliament on the other side? There are many people who say, oh, don't mind Okudzeto. If it was an NDC person buying these hotels, we wouldn't have complained. What is your position on the sale of these hotels?
So let me be very clear. I have consistently been opposed to the sale of public assets, state assets, particularly to politicians. And 16 years ago, you recall that I brought a case at the Supreme Court of Ghana against the Honorable Okudzeto when I discovered that he was purchasing his bungalow. I thought that it smacked of conflict of interest. I thought that it was totally against the grains of good conduct of public officials. It goes against the code of conduct of public officials in terms of good governance. I also argued that under Article 25 of the Constitution, when you have acquired land for public purpose, the Constitution is very clear that if you no longer have use of the land for that public purpose,
You return it.
you return it to the original owners, or you give them the first right, as Article 26 requires. That was not done in this case. And you see, it also attacks all predecessors and makes them look, if you like, stupid. Those who have stayed in those bungalows, you taking care of those state assets from the Nkrumah era, who've preserved them, made sure that they are in good state. You come and you want to take them over for yourself. So it has been a principle that I have been so vehemently opposed to. And I am glad that even though I lost the Okudzeto case in that 6-3 decision of the Supreme Court, Justice Sophia Akufo, and indeed all the judges commended Dr. Manibuama and I for that action, even those who thought that I shouldn't win because Okudzeto lawyers had said that they were still going to use it to build apartments for nurses, and so it was still in the public good. We are still waiting for those nursing apartments to be built. But Justice Sophia Akufo, took on her colleagues in her dissenting judgment and said that, look, this was a golden opportunity for us to really, look at the bigger picture, clean the stable, and prevent this from occurring in the future. Now we know that state capture has assumed dimensions that, are so unprecedented and so destructive that you now have a situation where virtually in every department, and you've been following my exposés, from parks and gardens lands, embassies. I had to virtually, expose the demolition of the Bulgarian embassy. They are waiting for Ghana to pay them compensation, by the way, after the Seoul Inquiry's report. The Nigerian High Commission, demolition. You've seen Ghana Prison Service in the battle of their lives to protect their Roman-rich land, Bostal Institute. I can go on and on, including judges who have recently gone to court since the 27th of February 2024 to protect bungalows for judges. So it's this state capture thing. And don't forget the W.E.B. Du Bois Center, which also has been handed over in a 50-year arrangement. And I am fighting all of this. So if you look at my history from 16 years ago, Okudzeto, and all the other cases I'm fighting, why would anybody make this just about Honorable Brian Champon? that probably is something personal, or I have some personal hatred, as he himself has been saying. This is not about hatred. It's not about singling out one person. I have been consistent and have always opposed this state capture, this sale of state assets. And if you look at the history, look, since 24 February 1966, virtually all the regimes have been engaged in these sales. What has come out of it? We have seen a pattern where public officials deliberately run down state assets and then turn around to buy it. If these hotels are not good for all of us, why should they be good for you? Why should they be good for one person? The other question to ask is, if the Honorable Brian Champo is such a great hotelier extraordinaire, the best the world has ever known, and has all the acumen, the expertise to turn hotels around, why can't he bring it to bear? Now that he is in cabinet, his government is in power, he has all the influence. He will only bring that expertise to bear when the hotels become his, when he has controlling shares.
He's not a minister for
60%.
tourism.
I mean, why didn't he lobby to be minister for tourism? And you don't, at cabinet, you can contribute on any matter. You don't even have to be a tourism minister. Because you could have lobbied to be tourism minister, you could have lobbied to be MD of Labadi Beach Hotel, or SSNIT Director General.
He's now Minister for Agri, but also private businessman.
But even though you didn't lobby for that, no problem. We won't begrudge you. In cabinet ministers can contribute on any matter, bring their knowledge, their expertise to bear. How is it that you are only willing to bring that expertise to bear when it becomes yours? Doesn't that expose the fundamental principle I have always espoused, that look, these sales, it is just about personal gain. It is never been about the country. It's not in the national interest. So it is a principle that I have consistently subscribed to. And that is why I am sponsoring a private members bill. And I want to thank the lawyers led by Professor Kweku Azar who have helped me. In the next few days, we will put it out. We are calling it the Protection of State Assets Bill 2024. We are saying that all politicians, whether NDC, MPP, whether your party is in power or not, and politically exposed persons should be prohibited from purchasing state assets. Because I've seen that Article 284 of the Constitution, which frowns against conflict of interest, and even the Anani ruling and others. And if you look at the Anani ruling, people think that
Richard Anani of Kufuor's government.
Yes, of Kufuor's fame. When you pay regard to the Anani ruling, conflict of interest was defined. And the judges, the commissioners, said in that ruling, Ashraj, the commissioners of Shraj, said in that ruling very, very clearly that when it comes to conflict of interest, it has to be, yes, I found it. Sorry, I have a huge stack of documents. That, the test and the rules is not only direct, it's indirect. It's even perceived, even the likelihood. Let me read the principle that they established, page 21 of the Anani ruling, on conflict of interest. It says, the commission has held that a public official breaches this provision not only where there is actual conflict of interest, but also where there is a likelihood of conflict of interest, where there is already in existence a personal relationship between a public officer and another person, or between their respective institutions or companies. There is an onerous responsibility on the public officer to ensure that all future transactions between the two persons or institutions are conducted with utmost transparency and in such a manner as to avoid suspicion of any improper motive or conduct, unquote. So you see, perceived, apparent, likelihood. I'm not aware of any country in this world, any serious democracy, where public officials are allowed to buy state assets, sell state assets to themselves.
This report you just quoted, was it not quashed by the court, which makes it moot?
No, it was not. This principle, the conflict of interest principle.
So it stays, but the decision was thrown out by the courts.
So when it comes to conflict of interest. It's very clear. And you see, under Article 78 and Article 98 of the Constitution, certain safeguards have been presented that if you're an MP, you're a minister, you must subject yourself to a committee of members holding profit. That committee is chaired by the Second Deputy Speaker. They should assess what you are going to do, the kind of business you are going to engage in, to be sure that you will not go and engage in conflict of interest. There is not a conflict of interest transaction. When I checked, in the case of the Honorable Brian Champon, he is not one of the 47 ministers and MPs who have gone through the process and have received a certificate from the Speaker.
To do what?
To engage in transactions
Let
of
me
this
ask
nature.
you a very practical question.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Brian Champon had this hotel before he became minister. So this is a man, until recently he was not a member of the Akufo-Addo government, he was a member of Parliament.
Yeah.
But he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He had his hotel. Now he becomes a minister. Should his hotel cease all operations that will bring it profit? If that hotel thinks that, oh, there's a bid happening somewhere, we should go and bid, should that hotel not be able to go and do it? What is wrong with that? Are you saying as a member of Parliament you cannot do any private business?
So, under Article 78 and Article 98 of the Constitution, the Constitution provides parameters within which you can go ahead to do your business. So if you look at Article 78, it says, ministers of state, a minister of state shall not hold any other office or profit of or emolument, whether private or public, and whether directly or indirectly, unless otherwise permitted by the Speaker, acting on the recommendations of a committee.
So that's a committee you talked
of
about?
Parliament, yes.
Okay.
On the ground that A, holding that office will not prejudice the work of a minister, and B, that no conflict of interest arises or would arise as a result of the minister holding that office. So you see, the Constitution tries to provide safeguards, what all of us should do.
But it does not say you should sell the company or stop owning the company. You may pass on
I haven't said that. So in the case of the Honorable Brian Champon, he didn't subject himself through this process. And you see, 78 deals with ministers, 98 is just a lift, similar rendition, 98-2. A member of Parliament shall not hold any office, the same for MPs. On both counts, both as minister and as MP, he didn't go through the process.
No problem. But my question is
and does not have the certificate. So you clearly, under this constitutional arrangement, if you want to do business, you want your hotels to continue to probably expand, follow the due process, meet the committee, let them assess your role in the transaction, your role in that company, receive a certificate from the Speaker, satisfy Article 284. All of this was not done.
So if he had done
and that is why I have gone to Shraj.
So if he had done that and his hotel bid and they won the bid, you wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, save the fact that it's a state institution that you have a problem being sold, but you wouldn't have had a problem if...
No, I will still have, because there are multiple problems. This is only one. That is why I am before Shraj, and I'm cooperating with the Shraj investigations. I've sent tons of documents to Shraj, and Shraj is investigating all of these conflict of interest aspects and the violations of Article 78, 98, 284. There are other major problems with this transaction. One is the clear preferential treatment offered to the Honorable Brian Champon, which further buttresses the point I make about conflict of interest, about insider dealing, that because they have a predetermined outcome, that is why the procurement process has been skewed to favor the Honorable Brian Champon.
Even though SSNIT says he went through a transaction advisor and all of these went through transparent means, and the bid was competitive and open and transparent.
So I am glad that you asked that question. SSNIT appointed a transaction advisor through a competitive process. The Ghanaian taxpayer has been billed $491,000 for the services of this transaction advisor.
Not fully paid though.
Yes, but it's important to take note of that is how much will be paid this transaction advisor, $491,000. So over 7 million Ghana cedis at current exchange. No cheap funds. Now, if you will not take the advice of the transaction advisor, don't cause financial loss to us. Don't waste our money. Now, the transaction advisor, which we are going to pay $491,000, issues this report on the 24th of May 2024 after assessing the Rock City bid which SSNIT chose. And the report is so damning. If you read the transaction advisor's report, and it's signed by the CEO himself of SEM Capital, Dr. Sam Mensah, you can see his signature here. Let me come to page 2 of this report. Very damning report. Every page, this 6-page report, every page is damning. So the transaction advisor says that the proposal offers an installment plan with no confirmation of availability of funds. Payment is based on the cash flow of Rock City Hotel with no credit enhancement from any bank. 2, there is no indication of ability to pay. 3, the arrangements for the transfer of the shares do not satisfy the objectives of SSNIT. Transfer of the management and ownership will take 2 years. 4, the 2-year installment plan was not made available to all bidders. Can you believe that? The transaction advisor continues, page 3. The latest proposal from Rock City Hotel does not meet the objectives of SSNIT, which were clearly stated in the terms of reference of this transaction. And he quotes the terms of reference. The objective is to select a strategic partner with the necessary gravitas, expertise, and financial muscle to turn around the fortunes of the hotels. SSNIT's preference is to limit its equity holdings in these investments to between 26% and 49%. The strategic partner is to take up the rest of the equity by injecting the equivalent capital into the hotels. The Rock City proposal, as it stands, would not satisfy SSNIT's objective. Other investors who submitted bids did not have an option of spreading the payment of shares over a 2-year period. The proposal does not indicate the source of funding for the balance of the acquisition price. Meanwhile, when you look at SSNIT's own advert of 7 February 2022, when it put out the notice to all interested parties, it had pre-qualification criteria. And you see here, one of the key pre-qualification criteria, sources and proof of funding. So the Rock City bid should not even have been, have been selected. They should have been disqualified. I have also raised the issue of a valid tax clearance certificate, because documents are intercepted from GRA, reveals that when they put in the bid, they had not filed their annual.
Okay. So I think I interviewed you and Brian, and he presented at which you said you disagree.
Yes,
my question, though, moving forward is
in May 2023.
So all of this has become moot now because SSNIT has withdrawn the plan. Rock City has withdrawn the plan. Moving forward, what is the way out?
So you see, this is important.
What should happen to the hotels?
See, this is important for all of us to appreciate that it has never been about hatred or about personal dislike. Not at all. I mean, the Honorable Brian Chapo and I went to the same secondary school. We all loved that DS. We meet at old boys meetings. We all served on the Foreign Affairs Committee. At a point, he was chairman, I was ranking member. We worked closely. So, I mean, everybody knows that. I hope we were friends, I should say, because these days, with all his threats, I don't think we are still friends, you know. But I'm still open for friendship. And the point is that when you look at all of these reports, so you see the transaction advisors report, very damning. Then I also have the valuation report. If you look at value for money, the Rock City offer did not pass that test as well. SSNIT's own valuation says that Labadi Beach Hotel should be offered for $45.1 million. Rock City put in a bid for $29.4 million, less than half. La Palm should go for $47.1 million. Rock City was offering $21 million.
We need to go
Ridge Royal should go for $15.3 million. They were offering $8.4 million. Elmina Beach Resort should go for $13.7 million, according to the SSNIT valuation. Rock City was offering $2.4 million. So on all angles, you know, if it's value for money, if it is about conflict of interest, about insider dealings, they don't make the cut. They just don't make the cut.
In 30 seconds, should the hotels remain and rot, or they should be given to an alternative company?
These hotels are not rotting. Labadi Beach Hotel is doing very well, paying dividends to government. I've looked at their financials for last year. Massive profit of $158 million, working profit of $58.4 million. They have about 48 million cash reserves in their accounts. They pay dividend 25 million last year to government, 10 million the previous year. they are not making losses. All the other hotels, their assets are rising. In this discussion, nobody is talking about their assets. Land, prime beachfront land of La Palm, of Elmina Beach, has gone up through the roof.
So
their assets are going up.
So let the hotels stay, hands off them.
Hands off the hotels, appoint new management. That is what we did in the case of Labadi when we were in power. And it transformed the fortunes of Labadi.
So change
Adopt
management.
the same model. Change management.
Very
Stop
well.
these political apparatchiks with no background in managing anything who are being sent to these hotels. Do a proper recruitment process, identify top-notch professionals, change management, and you will see that these fortunes will really be transformed.
This is Face to Face. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. My guest, Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. We'll be back with more. Please stay. Yeah, welcome back to Face to Face. I'm going to talk to you about National Cathedral, but this your asset, is it asset bill? What's the name of the proposed bill?
The protection of state assets bill.
How different would it be from what we already have, where you declare your assets at the beginning of a government and then at the end?
So you see, that one that relates to private assets. So we want to know how much you are worth, what kind of assets you have before you come into government, so that if there's such a wide gap, which your salaries and emoluments does not explain that kind of wealth, then you can be dealt with. So that's a separate matter.
So how different is yours now? What's remarkably different?
So with this one, we are talking about all the public assets we have: bungalows, lands, forests, parks and gardens, every asset in the name of the Republic, factories, industries, hotels. And we are saying that politicians should stay away from the purchase of such assets. And when you leave office, the current draft, we are saying that when you leave office, after 5 years before you can engage in any assets that are on sale. And then what I also like about this proposed piece of legislation is that we are going to create a national assets database, which we don't have. We have been asking the Minister of Lands in Parliament that we want to know all the lands we have that are in the name of the Republic.
We don't have those details.
And who they have been sold to, the ones that have been sold since '92. They say they are struggling with the data and that our record keeping is poor. We've been asking how many bungalows do we have as a country? They can't tell us.
So you want your bill to capture that?
To capture, so that we all know. So if you are in Shao Sudoku, you are in North Tongu, you are in Bumprugu Yoyo, and there are state assets there, you know. For example, the Parks and Gardens land in Wa, which somebody just wanted to put up filling stations and was taking it over. If people knew that, look, it's for all of us, they will even have helped with the protection, and they will have blown alarm, and then we can help protect these state assets. So it will, because look, a lot of these assets, you find out that, look, they are sold secretly, there are even others who have retired or who just probably they were friends of people who were giving those bungalows, and they just take it over. And we are losing money, and the state capture continues. People are just looting left, right, center. That has to stop.
There are a lot of people who say, this thing Ablakwa is doing is good, but if his party were in office, would he do same? If John Mahama wins the next election and you become a member of his government or not, you are still a member of his party, would you continue with this campaign of yours?
Definitely I will. And all those who
say
that,
to the levels that you are?
Yes. All those who say that, I remind them that I have been in government before. I've been in government for 8 years. Did I go near any state asset? And everybody,
but did you fight your colleagues? You did not.
Everybody in government will tell you that every now and then you will get a call. These lands commission people, oh, some state land is available here. Aren't you interested?
You never took one?
Never. I stayed away. Even this business of cars, you can go home with your car, just it's auctioned by STC, and then you pay whatever. Many people find it legitimate. I didn't participate because of this principle, and having gone all the way to the Supreme Court.
Will you go after your colleagues?
That is why I want us to have this law. Yeah. Once the law is passed, and I want to salute President Mahama, who has said that he will not allow any member of his government to buy a state asset. I was very, very excited when he said that at the Meet the Press.
My question is,
journalists.
Would you go after your colleagues the way you are doing now?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the media engagement you talked about. So I asked the question of the former president. I said, the National Cathedral Hall, are we going to cover it if he became president, continue it, or convert into something? He didn't give me a specific answer. He just said he would do an audit. But I thought that he should be able to make a definite pronouncement. As a president, would he continue building a cathedral, or he would truncate the building of a cathedral? What is the position? Maybe he didn't share it with us publicly, but you know that.
What I've heard the president say is that he wants to do broad-based consultations with the Ghanaian people, and because he doesn't want to impose his personal wish on what should be the future of what is clearly the world's most expensive pit. And by the way, only a few days ago, I filed a question for the tourism minister to come tell us in Parliament how much has accrued from private donations in Ghana and the US. Because earlier on, the Minister of State for Finance has told us that in terms of taxes, which were illegally withdrawn without parliamentary approval, is 339 million. So I wanted to know private donations, how much? And interestingly, it's emerged that private donations in Ghana is 33.4 million, and private donations raised in the United States of America is in excess of $400,000. Now, that will bring the figure to about 379 million, no longer 339 million Ghana cedis. Such a staggering amount. Just imagine what we could have done with 379 million in this broke, bankrupt economy. Just imagine the hospitals without incubators, hospitals without MRIs, without imaging equipment, the communities that don't have potable water. So the funds would
have been better used?
Should have been better used.
If you became president or became minister for chieftaincy and culture, what would you do with the cathedral?
Well, it's now been put under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture.
Okay, great. So let me give you that. It's even a juicier ministry. What would you do with this?
My first action would be to conduct an inquiry. There are too many people keeping money that belongs to all of us in the name of this cathedral. Carrie Summers, $6 million. We haven't retrieved the one with the double identity pastor. You have David Ajayi with all his inflationary pricing that he's done. So a lot of people have to bring back money to us. That is why you have that pit that doesn't really look like, over $60 million.
But my question more is, would you agree in principle with the building of a hospital?
So the first thing to do will be a forensic audit and inquiry, retrieve as much as you can, so that we can use those monies for the development of our country. Then engage the people, because I agree with President Mohammed's view on this, that let us involve the people. Already I've heard some very brilliant submissions from the TUC, for example, who have said that let's use that place for a specialized hospital. Some have suggested a children's hospital, which Ghana lacks, because it's a very strategic location, not too far from Ridge Hospital, and Kolebu. And let's have a pediatric specialist, hospital. Some have said that you can still even scale down the cathedral, have a smaller, because now we are in the region of about $450 million. It started at $100 million. Can you scale down? You can do probably reasonable cathedral, national cathedral, and then the rest of the land, you use it for a pediatric hospital.
So this is what people are saying. What do you say?
I will go with the people. As for me, once I exact my accountability, retrieve the funds, what the people prefer, I'm more inclined to go with rescope, do a smaller cathedral project, then do some hospital of a sort. I'm more inclined with that. But let the people decide. How
far with your case with Mr. Kusi?
He keeps filing appeals. Are you sure he's Mr. Kusi? Because in court, he says he's Kwabena Edu-Gyamfi. So it's Kwabena Edu-Gyamfi versus Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, which itself confirms the investigation I did. So there's a defamation suit that is running. He lost the human rights case, but he's appealed. I think his strategy is just to keep me busy in the court. He never shows up in court, by the way. But I have to be in court always, and he keeps, filing appeals. But he keeps losing as well. He's lost 3 rounds already. He owes me a lot of money. There's been a lot of damages awarded.
When you collect it, bring us some. We use it to feed.
Yeah, we'll use it for charity.
We'll use it for charity. Before we go, former President Mahama, your boss, is a member of the GJ. Are you a member of the GJ? Because you're a Minister Deputy for Information. Did you apply to be a member of the GJ? Yeah,
no, I didn't apply.
Then the award that we wanted to give you won't give you. But thank you so much for joining us on Face to Face.
Pleasure.
That's the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, NDC Member of Parliament for North Tongu and former Deputy Minister of State Thank you for watching Face to Face. This is Channel 1 Television. My name is Umaru Sandamadu. We'll be back next week here on the same frequency. Thank you.